Hey guys, I know it's been a really long week, so I definitely appreciate you stopping by. I promise I'll try not to keep you too long. I just want to get some of your thoughts and opinions on this article that was published by warisboring.com that I came across just a few minutes ago. Basically, the premise of this article is that most, if not all, UFO sightings, particularly some of the more inexplicable ones, are actually just covert experimental military aircraft. As a matter of fact, they pretty much sum up their entire stance in the headline, so take a look at that real quick. Sorry believers, many UFOs are just military aircraft. There's no shortage of secret prototypes. So even though that's obviously framed as a slight diss against quote-unquote believers, I actually don't find the statements themselves to be 100% totally out of line, because if we're really being serious about all this, then we need to acknowledge that the military is definitely testing and developing really advanced aircraft that is going to look and behave completely unbelievable to us. Just imagine when they were testing the B-2 Spirit, how many people were genuinely and honestly convinced that they had just seen something otherworldly. Without a doubt, I would not believe it if someone tried to tell me that this thing was a bird or swamp gas or something if I had seen it while it was still being tested and, no one else in the public had seen it yet. And the same story continues on pretty much even today. Take, for example, the X-47B. I mean, just look at this thing. Are you really going to call someone a liar or a nutcase because they saw one of these before it was officially unveiled? I do not, however, believe that every single sighting out there can be explained away so easily. Sure, yeah, secret government craft are out there, absolutely. But in my opinion, there's a lot more out there too. So anyways, let's look at a few pieces of this article before I get sidetracked. Okay, the opening paragraph states, from 2007 to 2012, a small team of military investigators looked into sightings of unidentified flying objects. Yes, UFOs. From an office deep inside the Pentagon. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, championed by former U.S. Senator Harry Reid, paid contractors to analyze close encounters between military pilots and mysterious airborne objects. We've talked about ATIP a little bit on this channel, but I'm pretty sure that anyone who has found themselves here already has some basic understanding of its history, its function, and its relationship to Bigelow Airspace and to Stars Academy. So before we get too much into all of that, let's go on a little further here. Some of those close encounters probably involved secret military prototype frontline pilots didn't know exist. Others, however, remain unexplained and could be revolutionary for human civilization. I think most of us would probably agree with that, whether you're a curious skeptic like myself or even a die-hard believer. We all know that unacknowledged special access programs and clandestine projects are highly compartmentalized, so it's no real secret that not everyone in the military would know of every single experimental aircraft. That's just ludicrous. Okay, continuing on here. Just because something's unexplained doesn't mean that it's extraterrestrial. Of course not, but I never say never. Nick Pope, who ran the British military's own UFO investigative unit in the early 1990s, told me via email, extraterrestrial visitation might be unlikely, but if a single case turned out to be true, it would be a game changer. One 2004 incident in particular has befuddled skeptics. 2 U.S. Navy fighter pilots flying off the coast of Southern California tracked an airliner-sized, cigar-shaped object that appeared to hover and maneuver in ways that seemed to exceed conventional aeronautics. I have no idea what I saw, David Fravor, one of the pilots, told the New York Times. There are still those observations that defy explanation. Observations by highly trained individuals such as fighter or airline pilots who would recognize aircraft shapes and aircraft movements. Luis Elizondo, the head of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program and related UFO efforts until his October resignation, told me via email. The basic instinct of intelligence personnel looking at the most convincing UFO sightings is to assume that they're secret prototype aircraft or drones, developed either by another nation or by another part of the government. But in a situation where the information is so compartmentalized, nobody else can get access, Pope said. I have to say I agree with that as well, but just because ATIP doesn't know about some of these craft seems like a weak reason to suggest that everything they've investigated must be one of these man-made military craft as well. Let's say, hypothetically, that the TR3B exists. I happen to believe it, or something like it, actually does really exist, but let's just say for argument's sake that we know for a fact it exists. It's been proven. The military just announced it yesterday. Does that mean that no other black triangular sighting originated from another planet? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. So, to go on with part of our hypothetical argument, we have to admit that advanced military craft seem to be getting more and more triangular over the last few decades. So, there's a realistic chance that some of these sightings indeed are military craft during test flights. But at the same time, look at the Phoenix Lights. That sighting wasn't a man-made craft, it's too big. I would bet my toes on it. I don't buy that it was military flares either, not for a second. The governor himself downplayed that sighting at first, and then years later admitted that he actually saw the lights, and he was quoted as saying, "To my astonishment, this apparition appeared. This dramatically large, very distinctive leading edge with some enormous lights was traveling through the Arizona sky. As a pilot and a former Air Force officer, I can definitely say that this craft did not resemble any man-made object I'd ever seen, and it was certainly not high-altitude flares because flares don't fly in formation." So, you see, just because some of the unexplained lights or craft in the sky probably really are advanced secret military aircraft, it's completely irresponsible to just assume that, therefore all unexplained lights and craft in the sky must be advanced secret military aircraft. If the Pentagon is paying taxpayer dollars to investigate these sightings, wouldn't someone catch wind of that and tell them to back off of certain cases? I mean, you don't want Luis Elizondo sharing national secrets and stuff to Tom DeLonge, right? Also, wouldn't it be too risky to allow the investigation to continue if it's something you're actively trying so hard to cover up? Military guys like Elizondo respect national security. I guarantee you he does. It seems like they would just tell him, "Hey man, don't look into that one." And he would be like, "Oh, okay, right on bro, I got you. I understand, we gotta keep some stuff secret, so okay, yeah, I'll back off that one." Now, of course I could be wrong. I'm just saying, why let the investigation program continue if the object that people are seeing actually belongs to some trillion-dollar secret that you're trying desperately to keep buried? I'm getting sidetracked again, so let's just keep going on with the article. Another theory is that some of these sightings are attributable to some sort of atmospheric plasma phenomenon that science doesn't yet fully understand, Pope added, using the scientific term for electrified air. Okay, I usually agree with Nick. His credentials are enough to establish his credibility, in my opinion, but I don't buy into this atmospheric plasma crap, not at all. Sure, it could account for some percentage of overall sightings, but let's use the Phoenix Lights again as an example. I would just laugh in his face if he told me that was his explanation for that mass sighting. Okay, anyways, it goes on a little more here. The abundance of secret prototypes flying American skies gives plenty of cover to government investigators and skeptical outsiders whose impulse is to dismiss possible evidence of alien life. That said, there are those in government, including clearly some of the intelligence officials who worked in the ATIP, who are prepared to think the unthinkable and say that some of these things might be extraterrestrial, Pope said. And I think that pretty much sums it up. In other words, yeah, sure, there's some crazy, badass secret military stuff going on out there in our skies. Absolutely. But does that really mean that there are no truly unidentifiable flying objects in our skies? Or even better yet, in space all around our solar system? Hell no, not one bit. The real question for me is, what is the ratio? How many of these objects are known and identifiable to, let's say, Lockheed and other skunkworks defense contractors? And how many of them do these guys look at and say to each other, whoa, that is not something that humans built? I'll leave you guys with the final paragraph here for now. The 2004 video seems unexplainable now, but remember, many similarly mysterious UFO sightings in the past turned out to be military prototypes. Maybe aliens really are buzzing around planet Earth, but if history is any guide, it's more likely that the Pentagon's own advanced aircraft that are making surprise appearances in front of baffled pilots. And there you have it. Please let me know what you guys think about this. Are you convinced that every single sighting is something that originated from Earth? I think we can probably all agree that the military is keeping huge secrets from us, but is it really justified in 100% of all cases? Does national security really outweigh disclosure? What about advanced energy? Is it worth it to keep us all on fossil fuels just so the American military can maintain air dominance? Does the government even have access to advanced energy? Do other countries like Russia and China parallel us in these technologies like some kind of UFO arms race? What about all the evidence of a phony alien invasion like mentioned in Project Bluebeam? Could that be part of all this secret technology or the reason for keeping it so secret? I hate using the term they when talking about shadowy government entities, but how much are they really keeping from us? Anyways guys, thanks for hanging around so long. I love talking about this subject of secret technologies, but I love hearing what you guys have to say about it even more. Please don't hesitate to email me. My address is in the channel description, and links to the War is Boring article and the Phoenix Lights article are in the video description. I've got somewhere close to about 10 hours of content coming up that I will be putting out incrementally, so don't forget to check back later, and I will see you guys soon. Peace.